Good morning and thank you for joining us. We will start our presentation shortly. Good morning and thank you for joining us today, and welcome to today's Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District public meeting about our proposed rates for 2022 through 2026. My name is Jen Alting and I am fielding questions in the chat today. So please let me know if you have a general question or something specific for one of our panelists. Just type it right into the chat box and we will be sure to address that for you. If you have a specific question about your bill, customer service is available to help you right now or Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Their phone number is 216-881-8247. Their email is askus@neorsd.org. And you can also live chat with a representative at neorsd.org/save. Don't worry, I will be sure to add that contact information into the chat box right away. Now I will turn the meeting over to our panelists and welcome to the podium our CEO, Kyle Dreyfus-Wells.
Thank you, Jen, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Saturday morning. I'm Kyle Dreyfus-Wells, Chief Executive Officer of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and I welcome you to our virtual public meeting to talk about our 2022 to 2026 sewer and stormwater rates. I appreciate you joining us. Today, we will talk about where your money goes and how we as a region protect public health and water quality. Managing sewers, treating sewage to clean water standards, and managing stormwater takes a lot of people, resources, and much more. It is a 24/7, 365 operation, and it is expensive. Without context, it can be hard to understand why this work costs what it does and the level of innovation and hard work that we and our partner organizations across Northeast Ohio bring to controlling these costs. So that is what we are going to talk about today in this meeting. So let's get started. So again, we are the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. We serve the city of Cleveland and 61 suburban communities across Northeast Ohio. And what you see here is a map of our service area, 355 square miles, almost 1 million people, and again, 62 communities. We treat sewage and we manage stormwater at the regional level, which means we are responsible for the big stuff. The region's 3 wastewater treatment plants, including the Easterly wastewater treatment plant that you see here. The region's large sewers that bring flow from the smaller local sewers to those plants, including the Doane Valley Tunnel that you see here, and the system of streams, pipes, and culverts that drain more than 300 acres of land called the Regional Stormwater System, which you see here exemplified by Wiley Creek in Moreland Hills, which is a tributary to the Chagrin River. So this is the big stuff that we're responsible for managing. And if you're tuned in this morning because you want to talk about your local sewer, maybe that sewer in your street or the small stream in your backyard or your local sewer or stormwater charges, we're not going to specifically talk about that here, but we'll try to answer your questions or point you in the right direction if you want to drop any questions about local charges or local problems in the chat. And if you don't know what's regional or what's local, just drop it in the chat and Jen Elting will do her best to take care of that. So today's meeting is about our regional system of sewers and streams and the systems and costs that are required to protect them and to continue to provide the clean water on which we all rely. So every one of us here and on this webinar pays for utilities. If I ask you what your phone bill pays for, that's easy. It pays for the internet in your pocket, and it's probably paying for your connection to this broadcast. And if I ask you what your electric bill pays for, that is also probably easy. It pays for your power. Now, if on this beautiful Saturday morning, I ask you what your sewer and stormwater bills pay for, your answer might not be so quick. You all obviously are concerned and you want to know that the water you flush or the rain that runs off your property goes somewhere. But your main focus is probably that your toilet doesn't back up or that your basement doesn't flood and that your yard drains after a rain. But there's much more to it than that. As you see from this graphic of our service area, just an aerial photo of our service area, which shows street, roads, rooftops, driveways, and all these surfaces that shed stormwater, and churches, homes, businesses where we all occupy and produce sewage. So when you pay your sewer and stormwater bill, that money goes somewhere, that water goes somewhere, and it goes here to Lake Erie. But to get there safely and to continue to provide that clean, fresh water on which we all rely, it needs to go through us, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. So our work and the rates that you pay ensures that the water you use gets cleaned properly and that the water in our streams flows safely, protecting our Great Lake. It is complex work, but in the simplest terms, it comes down to collection and treatment. So think about the water that you use at home. And just before we leave that, this is our Easterly Wastewater Treatment Plant, which can treat 400 million gallons of sewage a day, taking that sewage and sending it back to Lake Erie. So think about the water that you use at your home, what you flush down your toilets, anything that goes down your drains all day, every day of the year. It all travels through at least a few of the 300 miles of sewers and tunnels that we manage, including, again, the Doane Valley Tunnel shown here. And through one of our 3 wastewater treatment plants, operated and maintained to the highest standards to ensure that Lake Erie gets the best treatment possible. So we showed our Easterly Wastewater Treatment Plant, which treats sewage from the east side, cleans it, and sends it back to Lake Erie as fresh water, as clean water. And we see here our Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is the largest of its kind in Ohio and the 12th largest plant in the country, again, treating sewage to clean water standards, discharging that effluent to the Cuyahoga River so that it can be used again by all of us. And this is thanks to your sewer bill. But beyond the constructed systems, there are natural systems. Nearly 500 miles of regional streams, pipes, and culverts that are affected by stormwater coming from the areas around them. So we bring back up this slide of our service area, and now we have laid on that the regional stormwater system. So we've got the Rocky River, the Cuyahoga River, the Chagrin River, Doane Brook, Euclid Creek. These are all part of the regional stormwater system, a system that needs assistance to reduce flooding, erosion, and debris problems. And that is your sewer fee at work. And your sewer fee has gone to things like protecting Stickney Creek and restoring floodplain function here, building those pockets of flood control across the service area to minimize issues such as this, which is Maple Grove flooding in April of 2018. These are chronic problems across our service area that your stormwater fee is working to address and to minimize. So the fact that your sewer and stormwater bills pay for stream management, flood control, erosion control, and the unseen systems are why we start the rate conversation here. These rate realities might not seem as present as the phone service that you pay for or the lights that are on all around you, but they are services on which we all depend. And our job at the sewer district is to provide those services reliably and cost effectively. And we know that you're tuning in this morning because you are concerned about that as well. And again, we thank you for being here. So with that in mind, we're going to cover 3 topics in this presentation. We'll talk about what the next 5 years of sewer and stormwater rates look like and why, and how those rates make our clean water work possible, and what cost-saving opportunities exist for you or someone that you know. Now, I'm not going to do this alone. Ken Dupre, our Chief Financial Officer, will follow me and he'll cover what the rates are all about. And then Constance Hock, our Chief Administrative Officer, will share the details on our cost-saving programs. Again, we'll gladly take your questions in the chat along the way and answer those to the best that we can, and then take some more questions when the presentations are done. But before I turn it over to Ken, let's look at our 5-year rate forecast for both sewer fees and stormwater fees. So we determine rates every 5 years. The sewer rate you pay typically changes every January within that 5-year bucket. At least it has every year since 1990. So our last rate study was in 2016. And it set the rate schedule for the years 2017 to 2021. So over that last 5-year period, the average customer sewer bill has ranged between $60 and $80 a month. And the average stormwater fee has been $5.15 a month. And when we talk about average in that last rate study from 2017 to 2021, the average customer used about 0.6 MCF of water a month, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. And the average customer was in tier 2 of our stormwater fee, which again, we'll talk about in just a minute, paying $5.15 a month. So in 2020 and 2021, we studied both our sewer rates and stormwater fees, which have resulted in the new 5-year forecast, which we're talking about this morning. The next rate schedule covers the years 2022 to 2026, and we'll look at both sets of charges separately, starting with the sewer rates. So on the next screen, you will see the proposed rate table, and we will walk through it together, and you'll see it again with Ken. It will show our current rates for 2021 and our 2022 to 2026 proposed rates, and then how those compare. All right, so sewer rates have 3 components, and you see the year here over on the left, and then you see the rates as we go through the years. So the first component of a sewer rate is the monthly fixed cost recovery charge, commonly referred to as the fixed fee. So all of us pay this base charge no matter how much water that you use. This fixed charge supports fixed costs like administration and billing. The usage charge is a fee per MCF, which stands for 1,000 cubic feet of water or 7,480 gallons. That is what 1 MCF is. So the less water that you use, the lower the usage charge. And then there are cost-saving programs for folks who qualify for our Homestead or Affordability savings programs, which Constance will talk about in just a minute. Those are a 40% savings on the regular charges. So this is the sewer side of things, and these rates reflect the cost of service for the collection and treatment of wastewater, for the daily operation and maintenance of the 3 large wastewater treatment plants that we operate, as well as the collection system, for the people and personnel that it takes to run the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and for the construction and debt service, which is paying back the low interest loans that we have used to fund the large construction projects that are necessary to deal with the region's combined sewer overflow problem, all of which Ken will talk about in more detail. Now, the sewer rates and the stormwater charges are separate charges because the services are different and how they are assessed is different. Sewer charges, as we talked about, are based on water consumption because most of what you use on your property enters the sewer system and must be managed. So the water that comes in is used as the billing unit for your sewer service. But stormwater fees are not about your home's sewers. They are about the stormwater runoff your property generates. Stormwater fees are determined based on how much impervious or hard surface is on your property. So your rooftop, your driveway, decks, gravel areas, etc., places that do not absorb water and cause runoff. And from runoff comes flooding problems and erosion problems that have to be dealt with and are being dealt with through the Regional Stormwater Management Program. I'll just go back a second and show you this again. This is an image from our fee finder tool. If you want to see the impervious surface on your own property, you can go on our website, NEORSD.org, enter in your address, check out your property, and see the impervious surface measurement for your property. And that is how the stormwater fee is assessed. So our stormwater fees and the 3 tiers on the residential side have not changed since 2013. And today we're focused on the residential side. If you happen to be a commercial customer and you're tuning in, let us know in the chat. We can talk to you about that as well. But our stormwater fees for 2022 to 2026 are shown here, and they have moved into this current tier schedule that we see. So like our sewer charges, the rates for stormwater fees have an affordability component as well. So you see for the small homes with less than 2,000 square feet of impervious surface, that is in tier 1. For the majority of homes in our service area, they are in tier 2, between 2,000 and 4,000 square feet of impervious surface. And remember, again, we're talking about driveways, rooftops, and patios. We're not talking about the internal square footage of your home. And then for large homes, more than 4,000 square feet of impervious surface, those are in tier 3, again, a homestead and affordability component. So the stormwater fees support addressing regional issues like stream flooding, erosion, stream maintenance, and water quality issues related to stormwater runoff. These are the broader watershed issues that individual homeowners and individual communities cannot effectively address on their own. This is a watershed approach to a watershed problem. All right, so we talked about the sewer charges, we talked about the stormwater fees, but most customers pay their sewer charges and their stormwater fees on the same bill. And seeing the rates without your account's calculations may not be enough context to know how this proposed rate change might impact you. So let's look at the average customer for comparison. And remember, in 2017 to 2021, our average customer used 0.6 MCF. We have analyzed that again. Folks are actually using a little less water, so it's 0.5 MCF for the typical customer going forward in our 2022 to 2026 rate study. But the average customer is still in that middle tier on stormwater at $5.15 a month. So you see here that the typical customer is paying $68.10 in 2021. And you see the rates then going for the proposed increase from 2022 to 2026 for the typical customer. And this comes out to an additional $3 to $4 per month each year of this increase. So these numbers that you saw this morning are the result of this year-long study which assessed expenses and revenues, population trends, long-term spending needs, and it all comes down to the cost of service to continue to provide clean, fresh water into Lake Erie and for all of us in Northeast Ohio. These are all things that are very much worth considering, and Ken will talk about those more. But we wanted to start today by putting those numbers out there first, and then Ken will present the details. Again, as Ken comes up, please drop your questions in the chat, and thank you for joining us. So on to Ken Dupre, our Chief Financial Officer.
While we wait for Ken to join us, I wanted to remind you that if you do have a specific question for our panelists or a general question for me, by all means, please drop that into the chat. If you have a specific question about your bill, you can reach out to customer service. The best way to do that is by calling them at 216-881-8247 or sending an email to askus@neorsd.org. And with that, I will turn the stage over to Ken. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Kyle. I'm Ken Dupre, and I'm the Sewer District's Chief Financial Officer, and I'm happy to talk with you here this morning. Let me just start by putting it out there that I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers and budgeting, and I always have, even going back to my days as an intern at the Sewer District, and this is where I started my career. Kyle started by showing you some of the numbers, some of our rate numbers in context. Numbers are always about context, where they come from and how they affect you, how they affect us. My few minutes will talk about how we set our rates, where we were 5 years ago versus where we are today, knowing and meeting the needs of our customers like you. Let's put the rate schedule back on screen for some context on point one. What factors go into setting these rates? There's a cost to doing business, collecting and treating wastewater, reducing pollution, increasingly strict state and federal requirements, building and maintaining infrastructure to make that work possible and meet our obligations as a public utility. Rate studies confirm the actual cost of that service. From there, we assess things like population and water consumption trends, customer data, revenue, and economic conditions to set a user rate schedule for a 5-year period that covers the cost of service. If you picture a scale, the goal is to have the source of funding and the uses of funding balance. Typically, every year of a given 5-year rate cycle includes a percentage rate increase every January. It was true almost every January since the 1990s. It was true this past January and will be true again in 2022 through 2026. Our job is to maximize efficiency while minimizing the annual increase. Protecting public health and water quality is a priority, and it's expensive. Customers pay that cost, and the expense has been increasing over the last 30 years for various reasons. Before 1990, federal investment contributed greatly to sewer system construction. Since then, it has been practically non-existent. Fewer federal dollars coming to utilities at the same time as increasing federal water quality regulations. That could change for a limited time, as we know major federal infrastructure funding plans are in the works. But right now, it's too early to predict exactly how those dollars may be invested if and when they are approved. And that's just the sewer side. On the stormwater side, we have seen flooding and erosion problems on the rise since the early 2000s. Many times because one community's attempt to fix a problem becomes the problem of their downstream neighbor. That's because the problems that cross community boundaries haven't always been fixed. They've often just been moved. Our stormwater management program makes solutions manageable. Our challenge has been asking ourselves, how do we meet these needs and solve these real problems without rates overburdening our customers? You may not know it, but every water and sewer utility around the country asks themselves that question. This is not a uniquely Northeast Ohio discussion. And that leads to my second point, where we were versus where we are. Like I said, those rate studies are regular 5-year recurring efforts. In our last study, we took a long look ahead into 2022 and beyond. At that time, here's what we predicted. A 9.6% annual increase. But here's where we are today. 4.7% is an annual increase. Still an increase, but notably lower. Why is that? Three things really: sound management, smart savings, and how we borrow. Construction and paying back construction loans accounts for about half of what you pay for in your sewer bill. The current heavy lift we are carrying is Project Clean Lake, a 25-year federally mandated program that is reducing pollution in our Great Lake by nearly 4 billion gallons a year. We're 10 years into that campaign right now. Before we began, we estimated the cost to be $3 billion, and it factored heavily into our last 5-year rate cycle. Any of you who manage projects at home know how hard it can be to control costs, unexpected problems, unforeseen challenges, shifting priorities. Now imagine managing a $150 million project, 2 miles long and 200 feet underground. Now multiply that workload by at least 7. We are doing just that, and we are doing well. No cost overruns, no costly delays. We are finishing on budget or under budget and on time. We're not only planning and delivering huge projects like this, we're increasing efficiency and saving dollars. And here's an example. In 2018, we finished mining our Dugway storage tunnel. That's the milestone photo you see here. In June of 2020, 51 years to the day following the last fire on the Cuyahoga River, Dugway storage tunnel was officially complete and went online. 3 miles long, 200 feet underground, 24 feet wide, and one of just 7 similar projects we're in the middle of planning, designing, or building right now. The original contract value was $153 million. In 2020, that project was completed $4.6 million under budget. That's sound management, and it keeps costs down long term. Nearly $500 million total savings since 2010. Do you see rate reductions because of those savings? Not directly, because rates you pay today include our need to pay back past loans. But sound management means spending less money over time, reducing the rate of increase in future cycles. That's related to my next point, smart savings. Take yourself back to 2019 for a moment. You know the plans you made in 2019 for 2020 were nowhere close to the actual reality you faced in 2020. Realities change. When we signed our 25-year Project Clean Lake agreement with the federal government in 2010, we had a plan to solve the problems in a very specific way. As that plan advanced, we learned things, we made improvements, we found opportunities to do even better. Now, 10 years in, we took those lessons to the federal government, and they authorized us to change our agreement for the better. It gave us more ability to adapt solutions based on ongoing improvements. Those changes saved you $90 million without compromising our ability to protect Lake Erie. That's just one example of smart savings. Point 3 is how we pay for our projects. We'll talk about both sewer rates and stormwater fees because each is different. Sewer rates first. Prior to 2017, our standard practice was to fund our huge construction contracts with bonds, and that had its advantages at the time. But in the current rate schedule, we have instead found opportunities to fund projects with low interest loans. It's like getting a lower rate on your mortgage. Now, stormwater projects aren't paid for the same way that the sewer capital projects are. They're paid for directly with stormwater fees. Since 2013, our stormwater fees have gone unchanged, and we have invested $75 million to reduce flooding and erosion, working closely with communities to do so. But as we have studied the region thoroughly, we have identified more than $1 billion worth of stormwater management needs, problem areas, flooding areas, and failing infrastructure, and solutions are needed. The stormwater fee increase will not only help us advance the program, it contributes to your community making the investments they need to make. All 3 of these factors help us cut our rate of increase almost in half when you compare our 2016 projection to the 2022 reality. These will continue to affect our daily decisions to enable even greater efficiency in future rate cycles. 5 years ago, we predicted the 2022 through 2026 rate increase would be close to 10% a year every year. We're less than half of that now. Next year's sewer and stormwater rates are 4.7% higher than they are today. That becomes about $4 a month increase every year for an average customer. So I've covered what factors go into rate setting, where we are compared to where we were. Now I want to end my points with you, our customers. If we're managing projects to save money, and if we're performing better than we predicted 5 years ago, it makes a long-term difference, as we showed. But what about the here and now costs for our customers? That comes down to a term that we define as affordability. If I ask you, what does affordability mean? We'd certainly welcome your thoughts in the chat. In our utility terms, affordability is about customers' ability to pay their sewer bills. Plain and simple, most customers can afford to pay their sewer bills. They may not always be happy about the bills, but I do hope today's discussion provides some clarity about how and why rates are what they are. We are aware of our neighbors across the service area who are unable to pay their sewer district bills for a variety of reasons. We know their stories, and we have talked to and worked with them. These aren't easy times. Starting in 22, we are enhancing our cost-saving programs with 2 significant changes. First, we are opening our Affordability Program eligibility to renters who have the sewer bills in their own name. Prior to 2022, this was not an option. It's an option now, and we expect more than 20,000 customers could qualify for savings on their bill with that adjustment alone. Second, we're increasing our Affordability Program eligibility from 200% of the federal poverty level to 250%. This too increases eligibility to another 20,000 customers. Constance will speak to these programs directly in a moment, but at a glance, these 2 changes open the door for about 40,000 customers who until now would not have qualified for a reduced rate. While these rates are calculated with efficiency and affordability in mind, we know how we pay our bills are affected by very real challenges at home. We want to work with you. These changes have the potential to help those who need it most. I opened my comments by saying that I'm a numbers guy, and sometimes that sounds like percents matter more than people. Our work for clean water is about people. It's about public health and the environment we all call home across Northeast Ohio. As I transition to Constance, please keep your questions coming in the chat, and we'll remain available to take your questions along the way.
Thank you, Ken. And just a reminder that if you do have any questions for us, please, by all means, drop them into the chat function, or one of our panelists is also using the Q&A function. So for those of you who are watching, if you're interested in some of the questions that are out there, you can also go to the Q&A function and see the answers for that. And with that, I will turn the podium back over to Constance Hock to talk about some of our affordability programs.
Hello, my name is Constance Hock, and I'm the Chief Administrative Officer here at the Sewer District. So I'm very happy and excited to speak with you this morning. Many of you may know about our cost-saving programs, many of which have been in existence for many years. But we wanted to take this opportunity to let you know more about our 6 programs and the savings that they can provide our customers. So I will cover each of them just briefly. So as we go through them, remember that you can ask questions in the chat and give us a call anytime at our customer service line, 216-881-8247. So let's start with the Homestead Program. Our Homestead Program is a 40% discount. It is reduction for those customers who are eligible. Eligibility is based on 2 things. 1, if you are 65 years or older, and 2, if you are totally disabled. It is, of course, income-based. Your household income must be $34,500 or lower to qualify. Again, our reps are available to help us assess your eligibility. Our next program is Affordability. This is This also offers a 40% rate reduction for qualified customers. The difference between the Affordability Program and the Homestead Program is that the Affordability Program is not affected by age or disability. In 2021, customers whose household income is up to 200% of the federal poverty level qualify. As Ken mentioned, it is our hope with board approval to increase the eligibility threshold starting in 2022 and to include renters in this program. The third program is the Crisis Assistance Program. Crisis assistance covers unforeseen life events like loss of a job or medical expenses that may impact your ability to pay your sewer bill. If you apply and are eligible, you can receive a one-time credit up to $300 on your sewer bill. Plumbing and sewer assistance is next. Eligible homeowners may receive emergency service line replacements or other plumbing repairs. You must be a homeowner in the sewer district service area to qualify. One program that does not depend on income is our summer sprinkling program. Since customers often consume more water in the summer for uses that do not contribute to the sewer system, we offer this program that bases your summer use on your average winter consumption. The property does have to be owner occupied to qualify. You can apply using this link on your screen, or again, call us at 216-881-8247. And that brings me to our final cost saving opportunity, the regional stormwater management fee credits. Fee credits are based on changes that you make to reduce the amount of stormwater runoff on your property. Those changes might be simple or complex, such as a downspout disconnection, building a rain garden, or replacing concrete with a pavement that absorbs water. All of these opportunities are about reducing stormwater quantity or improving water quality. What you do is up to you, and our website can help you determine what solutions might make sense for your budget and savings. In conclusion, the changes that Ken presented in our 2022 to 2026 rate proposal provide two additions to our programs. The first extends the cost-saving program eligibility to renters these renters whose bills are in their name. The second increases the affordability threshold. We are working through the application process now and will provide all appropriate details at NEORSD.org/save in the upcoming months. For all of our programs, again, our representatives are always happy to talk with you. We'll continue to take your questions in the chat, and I'll turn it back over to Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you, Constance. And just a quick reminder, if you do have any questions for our panelists, now is our Q&A time. So by all means, please drop them into the chat and I will get them to our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Constance. And I want to thank all of you for your time, for watching and engaging with us today in this broadcast. So we started by talking about utilities and the services that you see as a result. The reality of sewer and stormwater work is that there are many services that we provide that you may not see. What I hope is that you see the benefits. Infrastructure work is expensive, it is time consuming, and it is critical. Our job at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District is to keep doing this well, to keep serving you and protecting our water resources all day and every day. So with that, Ken, Constance, and I have concluded our presentation, and we're happy to take your questions. So Jen Elting, what do we have?
Absolutely. So we had a great question about reduced population over the years and reduced consumption, which I did answer in the Q&A box. But one of the things that I thought would be great to talk about is how infiltration and inflow also impacts the flows coming into the wastewater treatment plants.
Well, that is a good question. So is Frank Greenland available to talk about inflow and infiltration? Because I can stall while we try to get him. Okay. So Jen, why don't you mute? You guys are trying to get Frank. All right, so before we get Frank Greenland, who's our Director of Watershed Programs, the question that Jen got was about inflow and infiltration, which is just such an awesome way to talk and to start a Saturday morning. So the point here is that there is stormwater that comes into the sewer system, which we treat at the plants, but is not coming through water consumption. And it is a problem of sewer systems across the country, and it can be a significant issue in terms of the cost to treat water and send it back to Lake Erie. So we're good for Frank. So Frank, you heard this question about inflow and infiltration and how it affects the work that we do. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, on the sewer side, both combined sewers and what we call separate sewers, streets that have a separate sanitary and a storm sewer, two sewers, and our treatment plants. Wet weather combined with aging infrastructure really drives a lot of things that we do and will continue to drive a lot of things we do going forward. Many of our sewer systems, both combined and separate across our service area, are in excess of 100 years old. Now that is beyond the useful life of most sewer systems. So as those systems age, they develop cracks, leaks. They develop these cracks and leaks both on public property within the sewer in the street and also on your property, private property. So the combined effects of aging, and if you look at the rainfall patterns we're seeing recently, we're seeing more intense rains, we're seeing more volume of rain on an annual basis. Aging sewer systems combined with increasing rainfall spell what we call infiltration and inflow. It's water that gets into a sanitary sewer, or for that matter, a combined sewer that was not designed to get there. It's the water that seeps into the pipes underground, and we have a significant amount of I&I in certain areas. So as we move forward with our programs, and for that matter, local programs, it's all about retooling and upgrading the infrastructure in our region to prevent that from happening. Because when it does happen, things like basement flooding events occur, and that's not good at the local level. So we have invested a significant amount over our history into adding capacity and retooling infrastructure systems to minimize the effects of infiltration and inflow. And we're going to have to continue to do that as we go forward. Our treatment plants also, if it leaks into the sewer systems on your property or in the street, it's transferred to one of our 3 wastewater treatment plants. So the amount of flow we see in wet weather is dramatically more than what we'll see on a dry day. And we have built a system of upgrades over time to be able to treat more of that flow that we see. So it's always going to be a game of trying to reduce I&I to prevent basement flooding and to allow for more efficient treatment plant operation.
Great, thank you, Frank. And I do just want to point out, as Jen's queuing up the next question, that if you're interested in learning more about how our sewer system works and the development of the sewer system as the Cleveland area developed, Frank does a great presentation through a whole project that we have called Sewer University, which I believe folks can get those I'm looking at folks that can get those Sewer University presentations and can see Frank's videos on our website, which is NEORSD.org. And I think Jen is going to drop that in the chat as well. Sewer University is designed for folks that don't work in the sewer and stormwater business every day, and is really, really a fascinating presentation about the development of our sewer system and a lot of the uniqueness of Northeast Ohio. So do we have another question, Jen?
I do. I have another question, and this one's for Ken. And one of our attendees would like to know, is there a fund regularly taken from fees that allow reinvestment in infrastructure? So I'm thinking maybe some of the bond accounts, perhaps. I asked for clarification, but.
Could you repeat that question?
Absolutely. The question is there a fund regularly taken from fees that allows reinvestment in infrastructure?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about what the fee is designed to do, and maybe that'll answer the question. So the fee that we charge pays for three things essentially over the course of the next 5 years. Our operating and maintenance costs, so the day-to-day costs to run the plants and the systems that we've talked about, funding our debt service, so the mortgage payments, if you will, on projects that we've completed. And then the third portion is that we pay for a portion of our capital program directly every year with some cash. So we do have a reserve associated with paying for our capital. The fee itself is designed to pay for all three of those factors each year as we move through our rate cycle. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, Jen.
If it doesn't, if our attorney would like to ask a follow-up question, I'm more than happy to address that. And the next question that we have, someone would like to know what some of our upcoming construction projects are. So I believe we're getting Devonna Marshall, our Director of Engineering and Construction, on the line to talk about some of our upcoming projects. Thank you, Devonna.
All right, Devonna, go for it.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'll start out by saying we do have a list of our upcoming projects for the year 2021 through 2025 available on the district's website under engineering and construction. So for that full list, please go there and check that out. That includes schedule and some cost information. But I will highlight some of our Project Clean Lake projects. Some of those are currently in construction and some of those are scheduled to kick off here shortly. Throughout the presentation, we heard some mention of our 7 large tunnels that we're constructing as part of that program. 2 of those are currently in construction. That includes our Wesley Storage Tunnel and our Doan Valley Tunnel with one of those, with another tunnel scheduled to kick off here by the end of the summer, which is our Shoreline Tunnel. And that tunnel itself will be about $200 million investment in construction. In addition to that, we're also in the process of designing some CSO or combined sewer overflow treatment facilities, again, part of Project Clean Lake. These 2 facilities will treat 2 of our largest CSOs that go off near our plants, the first the Eastleigh plant and then the Wesley plant. So those 2 projects in total are upwards of $200 million in construction as well. And those are scheduled probably to start construction in the next 2 or 3 years. They are currently in the design phase. And then in addition to some of those combined sewer overflows and Project Clean Lake projects, we also have a lot of just ongoing investment in our existing facilities and upgrading those facilities, including our electrical systems throughout the plants. Again, older infrastructure that is being replaced that will be more efficient in regards to operating and maintenance costs related with those upgrades, as well as upgrading some of our instrumentation and automation systems, again, for resulting in cost savings as it relates to O&M costs going forward.
That's great. Thank you, Devonna. That was Devonna Marshall. She's our Director of Engineering and Construction. Do we have any other questions, Jen?
And with it, that is our last question. But if anyone thinks of any questions after this broadcast, please send them my way at askus@neorsd.org, and we will be sure to forward those to the right person to answer your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. And I do want to thank folks for those 3 questions. Those were 3 great questions. The question about how we fund our capital program, a big component of the sewer fees that folks pay. The question for Frank about inflow and infiltration, and the question for Devonna about our construction program going forward. So thank you for those questions. As Jen said, keep any of your questions coming to us. We really appreciate this engagement with everyone. And I think with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, we good? Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up.
Wonderful.
All right, thanks everyone. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your Saturday. And again, thank you very much for your time.